Chapter 2 Sleep Diagnostic Tests. Gathering interesting information for diagnostic self-tests. Preparing your mind for peak performance through better sleep requires awareness of scientific findings as well as familiarity with your own sleeping, walking behaviors. We'll begin our journey into the night by asking you to take 3 very short tests. Self-test A surveys your general knowledge of sleep. The correct answers will be provided throughout the book. No fair looking ahead. Self-test B ascertains how likely it is that you are sleep deprived. Self-test C examines your current sleep practices. Self-test D probes for problems that could indicate you have a sleep disorder. Incidentally, the first sentence noted that there would be 3 tests, and now I've described 4. Did you catch the discrepancy? If not, you're undoubtedly sleep deprived. Be proud of yourself that you're reading this book and gaining knowledge about the power of sleep. You've already taken the first step toward establishing a new and dynamic lifestyle. Self-test A. What's my sleep IQ? Please indicate true or false for the following statements. Newborns dream less than adults. Men need more sleep than women. Not everyone dreams every night. As you move from early to later adulthood, you need less sleep. By playing audio tapes during the night, you can learn while you sleep. Chocolate candies provided on your hotel pillow will help you sleep better. If you have insomnia at night, you should take a long nap during the day. Sleeping pills are very helpful for people who have had insomnia for months. Arousing a person who is sleepwalking can be very dangerous. A soft mattress is better than a hard one for obtaining good sleep. You are most alert when you first wake up. To promote optimal sleep, the best time to exercise is early in the morning. A sound sleeper rarely moves during the night. A boring meeting, heavy meal, or low dose of alcohol can make you sleepy, even if you're not sleep deprived. Sleep before midnight is better than sleep that begins after midnight. Self-test B. Am I sleep deprived? Please indicate true or false for the following statements. I need an alarm clock in order to wake up at the appropriate time. It's a struggle for me to get out of bed in the morning. Weekday mornings, I hit the snooze button several times to get more sleep. I feel tired, irritable, and stressed out during the week. I have trouble concentrating and remembering. I feel slow with critical thinking, problem solving, and being creative. I often fall asleep watching TV. I often fall asleep in boring meetings or lectures or in warm rooms. I often fall asleep after heavy meals or after a low dose of alcohol. I often fall asleep while relaxing after dinner. I often fall asleep within 5 minutes of getting into bed. I often feel drowsy while driving. I often sleep extra hours on weekend mornings. I often need a nap to get through the day. I have dark circles around my eyes. Self-test C. How good are my sleep strategies? Please indicate true or false for the following statements. I go to bed at different times during the week and on weekends depending on my schedule and social life. I get up at different times during the week and on weekends depending on my schedule and social life. My bedroom is warm or often noisy. I never rotate or flip my mattress. I drink alcohol within 2 hours of bedtimes. I have caffeinated coffee, tea, colas, or chocolate after 6 p.m. I do not exercise on a regular basis. I smoke. I regularly take over-the-counter or prescription medication to help me sleep. When I cannot fall asleep or remain asleep, I stay in bed and try harder. I often read frightening or troubling books or newspaper articles right before bedtime. I do work or watch the news in bed just before turning out the lights. My bed partner keeps me awake by his or her snoring. My bed partner tosses and turns or hits me during his or her sleep. I argue with my bed partner in bed. Self-test D. Might I have a sleep disorder? Please indicate true or false for the following statements. I have trouble falling asleep. I wake up a number of times during the night. I wake up earlier than I would like and have trouble falling back to sleep. I wake up terrified in the middle of the night, but I don't know why. I fall asleep spontaneously during the day in response to high arousal, such as when I hear a funny joke. I have been told I snore loudly and stop breathing temporarily during sleep. I walk or talk in my sleep. I move excessively in my sleep. I have hurt myself or my bed partner while I was sleeping. I become very confused, afraid, and or disoriented after sundown. I cannot fall asleep until very late at night or cannot wake up in the morning. I cannot stay awake early in the evening, and I wake up before dawn. I feel mild pain or a tingling sensation in my legs just before falling asleep. I physically act out my dreams during the night. I'm often too anxious, depressed, or worried to fall asleep. Guide to the diagnostic self-test. Self-test A reveals your general knowledge of sleep. All of the statements are false. If you scored poorly, don't worry, you've got plenty of company. Consider yourself very smart to be reading this book. Self-test B checks to see if you are sleep deprived. If you answered true to 3 or more of the 15 items, you are probably not getting enough sleep. You are not alone. To find out more about the harm that sleep deprivation can cause, pay special attention to Chapter 4, Sleep Need and Peak Performance. Self-test C examines your sleep strategies. If you answered true to 1 or more of the questions, it is likely at least one aspect of your lifestyle is interfering with your sleep. To learn what you can do to get a better night's sleep, turn to Chapter 5, The Golden Rules of Sleep, and Chapter 6, 20 Great Sleep Strategies, How to Sleep Your Way to Success Properly. Self-test D probes for problems that could indicate you have a sleep disorder. If you answered true to any of the questions, carefully read Chapter 13, Insomnia and Beyond. Some sleep disorders are more serious than others and may require medical attention. If after further reading you decide to seek professional help, consult the list of sleep disorders centers in Appendix D. Part 2. The Power of Sleep. Come sleep, O sleep the certain knot of peace, the bathing place of wit, the balm of woe, the poor man's wealth, the prisoner's release, the indifferent judge between the high and low. Sir Philip Sidney, Astrophel, and Stella. Chapter 3. The Architecture and Functions of Sleep. What is sleep? For centuries, sleep was regarded as a quiet, inert state that evolved to ensure survival. Sleeping was a good way for our primitive ancestors to avoid the dangers of wandering around in the dark, to recuperate from fatigue, and to conserve energy needed for daytime foraging. The guidelines were simple: seek safe ground, lie down, turn off the mind, rest up, and be ready to hunt or gather at daybreak. Dreaming was not considered part of sleep. Dreams were thought to be messages sent to the sleeper from the gods, or as journeys of the soul to distant lands. Thus, sleep was perceived as a state of minimal body and brain activity, the very opposite of wakefulness. It seems so simple and reasonable, two completely opposite, yet reinforcing states of existence every 24 hours, although this active state versus passive state notion provides a common sense and therefore widely accepted definition of wakefulness and sleep. it is inaccurate. Any valid definition of sleep and explanation of why we do it must be in accord with emerging facts and observations. We still need to sleep even though we have artificial illumination to counter darkness. Sleep doesn't occur in response to boredom or mental or physical fatigue. Sleep isn't necessary to conserve energy because rest alone, without sleep, can conserve energy. Sleep is not determined by eating or by the resulting stomach vapors that Aristotle and the Greek philosophers thought cooled the heart or blacked the brain's pores, nor is sleep determined by will. And sleep does not mean the cessation of brain activity that happens only in animal hibernation. Sleep cannot simply be defined by the behavioral symptoms of lying down, being still, having your eyes closed, and being unresponsive to environmental stimulation. As Harvard's Dr. J. Allen Hobson notes, such symptoms can be feigned. What you can't fake is what actually defines sleep: dramatic, measurable changes in the electrical and chemical activity of the brain. Rather than being a vast wasteland of monotonous inertness, sleep is a diverse, complex, multifaceted series of stages that make important contributions to our daytime functioning. The various stages of sleep we experience each night as our senses disengage from the environment are delineated by significant changes in brain waves, muscle activity, eye movements, body temperature, respiration, heart rate, hormonal activity, and even genital arousal. The overall level of neural activity drops by only 10% during sleep. In fact, the sleeping brain is often significantly more active than the awake brain. We know that various activities of the sleeping brain play a dramatic role in regulating gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, and immune functions, in energizing the body, and in cognitive processing, including the storing, reorganization, and even eventual retrieval of information already in the brain, as well as in the acquisition of new information while awake. A big job hardly the province of a passive, inert state. Unlocking the mystery of the night. Remarkably, we knew very little about sleep until fairly recently in the history of medicine. In 1929, Hans Berger, a German psychiatrist, used small electrodes attached to the scalp to record the continuous electrical activity of the human brain. The brainwave recordings, called electroencephalograms, or EEGs, indicated distinctive changes in the brain's neural activity between sleep and wakefulness. The brainwaves of the waking state were fast in frequency, cycles per second, and low in amplitude, microvolts of electrical discharge of brain neurons. By contrast, Berger noted that the sleeping brain was characterized by low frequency, high amplitude brainwaves, indicating a substantial decline in neural activity, but he was unaware that sleep was not a uniform state. In 1935, researchers at Harvard University discovered that sleep was divided into several distinct EEG levels or stages that unfold within an hour, from drowsiness to shallow sleep to deep sleep. Because sleep recordings were stopped after an hour or so and not made continuously throughout the night, Berger and other scientists had failed to discover remarkable changes and brain activity that take place sometime after the appearance of deep sleep. Those observations, which were not made for nearly 2 more decades, revolutionized our understanding of sleep and its contribution to wakefulness. In 1951, Eugene Osirinsky, a graduate student in the sleep laboratory at the University of Chicago, set out to study the slow eye movements that accompany sleep onset. He detected these rolling movements by observing the shifting bulges of the cornea, the transparent front coat of the eye, under sleeping infants' thin eyelids. In the course of his observation, Osirinsky made a remarkable discovery. At various times during the sleep, the infant's eyes vigorously darted back and forth, up and down. These rapid eye movements appeared similar to those observed in the waking state. Were the eye movements merely muscle twitches, or were the infants scanning mental images in their sleep? Were they dreaming? Did the sleeping brain suddenly become very active right in the middle of the night? How often and for how long did this activity occur? In a fascinating series of now classic experience, Aserinsky, William Dement, and their mentor, Nathaniel Kleitman, began to unlock the mysteries of the night. They attached a pair of small recording electrodes to the faces of adult volunteers near the outside corners of their eyes. With the help of an EEG machine to amplify signals from the eye muscles, any horizontal eye movements could easily be detected under the sleeper's closed eyelids. Another pair of electrodes was attached above and below one eye to measure up and down eye movements. There was no need to attach electrodes above and below both eyes, as the eyes moved together in binocular synchrony. At different times during the night, the slow rolling movements seen at sleep onset were absent altogether or dramatically changed to very active rapid movements. Sleeping subjects were awakened during the periods of rapid eye movements called REMs and asked, "Was anything going through your mind?" The typical response was, "Yes, I was having a dream." When subjects were asked the same question during non-rapid eye movements, NREM periods, dreaming was reported much less frequently. The Chicago team of pioneer sleep investigators had provided an objective index of when and for how long people experienced a state in which dreaming frequently occurred. The discovery of rapid eye movements with the accompanying dramatic changes in brainwaves, heart rate, respiration, and genital arousal opened the floodgates for research on the sleeping brain and its effect on daytime functioning. Thousands of scientific studies began to fill the pages of newly established professional sleep journals. No longer could anyone regard sleep as just an inert, uniform, or passive brain state that served little purpose other than rest. Observing a typical night's sleep, many people think that soon after going to bed we slowly fall into deep sleep, remain there for some time, perhaps have an occasional dream, and then move gradually toward lighter sleep and awakening. This is far from what actually happens during sleep. Let's visit a sleep lab, hook you up, and trace the architecture of a typical good night's sleep. Before bedtime, a sleep technician temporarily glues small electrodes to your scalp in order to record brainwaves. Other devices can be used to record eye movements, muscle tonus, body temperature, breathing, heart rate, hormone activity, and genital arousal. The bundle of long recording wires now attached to you is connected through a junction box in the bedroom wall to a polygraph EEG machine or a computer in a control room. The machine will amplify the tiny electrical signals produced by your body and record traces on mile-long paper for an 8-hour recording, or simply store the information in computer files for later playback and analysis. The technician turns off the bedroom light and wishes you a good night's sleep, which, believe it or not, is quite possible despite the array of wire leads emanating from your head, chest, and elsewhere. As the technician having to stay alert the entire night in the control room while you're sleeping peacefully, who would truly suffer? Such is the price of being a dedicated sleep specialist. The journey to slow wave deep sleep. Lying awake in bed with your eyes scanning the ceiling, your fast 15 to 20 cycles per second, low voltage less than 50 microvolts, beta brainwaves indicate wakefulness, as do the recordings of your eye movements. Tired and ready for sleep, you soon shut your eyes and you begin your night's slumber. Your brain waves become somewhat slower in frequency, higher in voltage, and more regular. These 8 to 12 cycle per second alpha waves look like the teeth of a comb and delineate a relaxed, less tense, yet wakeful state. After several months in the alpha stage, your breathing rate begins to slow, as do your brain waves. You are now entering stage 1 sleep, a transitional stage of light sleep marked by 4 to 8 cycle per second, 50 to 100 microvolt theta brainwaves. In this twilight zone, heart rate is lowered and stabilized, and breathing becomes shallow and regular. Sometimes it's hard for an observer to detect any breathing movement at all. This stage can last from 10 seconds to 10 minutes and is sometimes accompanied by fleeting visual imagery, so-called hypnagogic hallucinations, because the skeletal muscles suddenly relax. You might experience a sensation of falling, causing you to awake momentarily with a jerk, not referring to your bed partner. People aroused during theta wave stage 1 sleep often report they were only half asleep. Indeed, it's possible to maintain awareness of your environment and respond somewhat quickly in this stage. You then move on to stage 2 sleep when theta waves are intermingled with the appearance of K-complex, single high amplitude waves, and sleep spindles, which are 12 to 14 cycle per second waves that resemble the spindle on a loom. Dr. J. Allen Hobson and Professor Wills Webb of the University of Florida found that people stop moving in bed about 7.5 minutes before sleep spindles appear. The lack of movement reduces muscle tension and brainstem stimulation via muscle nerves, thereby helping to induce sleep. Sleep researchers have decided that stage 2 sleep, which lasts 10 to 20 minutes, marks the beginning of actual sleep. At this moment, we become actively disengaged from our environment, blind and deaf to most outside stimulation. Nearly all people aroused from this stage report they were indeed asleep. It's now perhaps 20 to 30 minutes since you first closed your eyes to seek the peace of sleep. Begin to enter stage 3 sleep, a combination of theta and delta, very low frequency, high voltage brainwaves. Soon, the theta waves disappear altogether. You have now arrived at stage 4, the deepest phase of sleep. You have only delta waves of 0.5 to 2 cycles per second with an amplitude of 100 to 200 microvolts. If you're awakened by an alarm or telephone call, you'll feel mentally groggy for several minutes. You won't be able to make much sense. Your sound sleep has been abruptly interrupted. Young children are very different to aroused in stage 4 delta sleep. You can literally stand them up and walk them around without disturbing their slumber at this time. In delta sleep, muscle relaxation is complete. Blood pressure drops, and pulse and respiration are slowed. Blood supply to the brain is minimal. We are at our most vulnerable time, all but free from the demands of our environment. It's difficult to be aroused from delta sleep. It's as close to hibernation as you get. So sleep tight. Now is your chance. Slow wave sleep for peak daytime performance. Slow wave sleep is known for its restorative and growth-inducing properties and plays a major role in maintaining our general health.